Um,
Okay.
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 Right.
Shall we start then?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Tharumalee and I'll be your host for today. Hope you all are doing well despite the situation that's currently going on. Today we have a household name joining us for our 25 question segment. He is none other than Randhir Withana, singer, rapper and songwriter. Thank you, Randhir. Thank you so much for joining us today, despite it being Poya and all. And we've been meaning to get you on this segment for a while now. So, hi, how are you doing today?
Hi. Doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, so shall we just jump into the questions without
Let's
wasting
get
any
in.
more time?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
What sparked your interest in music?
I think discovering hip hop music, I think, is what sort of sparked the whole thing. I remember when I was a child, like when I just, I think, turned 13 or 14 or whatever. I saw this hip hop group perform live at the American Music Awards, and I was very, how do you say it? That kind of amazed me. So I was so sort of bamboozled by it that at that moment I knew, like beyond a doubt, that was like a moment of truth. At that moment when I saw what hip hop music was and I saw people not too much older to me performing it, I thought, okay, you know what, this is something that this is me. This is what I'll be. This is what I'll be doing in the future.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time to meet any artist who are not artists, who are not with us today, who would you want to meet?
Man, there's too many to name, to be honest. I guess top of that list would be, well, there's so many. I mean, I was a big fan of Tupac Shakur, his music. Whitney Houston as well. Luther Vandross. I know you said one, but it's a bit hard.
No, I said artists. Yeah. So
artists. All right. Oh, brilliant.
Not just
okay. Well, okay then. So Tupac Shakur, Whitney Houston, Bob Marley, Triple X. I mean, there's so many of them, right? I mean, it's a little ironic because it's always the best of them, the most legendary ones that tend to be sort of taken from us too early. Michael Jackson, without a doubt. So yeah.
Who are your top 5 favorite local artists of all time?
Top 5 favorites. So I mean, I've got a few. Actually, the first person that pops into mind immediately, he's a newcomer, but he's really sort of done well for himself. So Danit Sri, Costa. Other than that, there's a lot of new up and coming hip hop acts that are really good. So I said Danit Sri. There's Costa, Drill Team. Okay. Aside from that, who else is there? Christ, Daddy, Lahiru Perera. So top 5.
Top 5. Who are your top 5 favorite international artists of all time?
That list kind of changes from time to time, but
at the moment.
If you, I mean, I guess if you looked at my Spotify playlist, I mean, I guess who I'm listening to these days. So been listening to Pop Smoke. Been listening to a lot of Triple X. Been listening to Tory Lanez, a lot of Tory Lanez. Aside from that, so I've got 2 more, right? Yes. Been going sort of back in time a bit as well. So I've also been listening to, Boys to Men. Been listening to a lot of 90s R&B. So I kind of grew up on 90s R&B that influenced my singing style a lot. So Boys to Men, and Actually, yeah, man. Even Whitney Houston, we brought her name up a while back. I mean, it's got a bit nostalgic recently because, like, when I was growing up, my older cousins used to play a lot of sort of the mid '80s pop music in the house. So a lot of Natalie Cole, a lot of Whitney Houston. So I grew up around
listening to them.
Those vocals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, you have the background as well.
Actually. So thanks to I signed up to Spotify as it launched here, right? So I have a playlist of 80s songs, right? It's crazy. So I've got all the bands like Spandau Ballet. God, there's so many. Even Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, like every major early 80s band, even Culture Club is in there. Right? So,
wow, that's so impressive.
I know. It's a very
and most of the kids
playlist.
wouldn't know who they are if you ask them.
They wouldn't. But that music has so much soul to it, right? Because I call it my uplifting playlist. So if I need sort of feel good music, just to sort of get me in a good mood, I play that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
totally relatable. What's your musical guilty pleasure?
Oh, well, I think we covered that already, but I'll say so. Obviously, the songs from the '80s, all right. So, Creedence Clearwater Revival, that whole era of music.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a big, huge fan of jazz. So, jazz is pretty much my morning playlist. So anything with like with a horn section in it or horns in it, I love that. So I'm a big time fan of that because jazz is my working music. So if I've got to sit down and sort of do some kind of documentation work or some planning work or anything like that, if I'm working on a presentation or something, I've got jazz playing in the background. So yeah, jazz is my guilty pleasure.
Who do you think are the young up and coming artists we need to look out for in Sri Lanka?
Oh, so many, right? So I'll start with the hip hop artists to begin with. So young and up and coming. There are some really talented hip hop artists, like I said. So Uzi Senavira, he's got a song on YouTube that's I think gone past. That's in the millions of views. We've got a new artist called 007 who's got a song that's just blowing up on TikTok. All right. We've got artists like Ridhma Veeravardhana, Danit Sri, right, who have done really well for themselves. And I mean, those guys just need to keep on doing more music because it's so good. It's what the industry needs. At the same time, I've seen a couple of very talented young artists come out of some of the more recent television talent shows as well. So artists like Aditya, all right, Hannah Shafa, even Yohani. Yohani's a little seasoned now, but I mean, those up and coming artists are the ones who are going to kind of shape the future of music in this country, I think.
Brilliant. What moment do you consider to be the highlight of your career?
Oh, wow. I guess signing my first recording deal, I guess, for my first album. So I had a song called Nama Mitak, but then I released an album under the same name. So signed that with Universal Music and M Entertainment. So being signed to like an international label was a pretty big, wow incident for me. So that was pretty memorable, and we had a launch and everything, and it was pretty cool. So yeah, that was pretty unforgettable.
One person you'd love to do a duet with?
Just one. Local, international?
Anything you want.
Okay.
Maybe you can do one local and one international.
Locally, I'd like to do a duet with somebody with one of the veteran legends of music in this country. So either say who Mr. T.M. Jayaratna, Victor Ratnayaka, or Nanda Malini, right? That's something I've got to get done in the next few years, right?
I'm sure you will. I'm sure
you will. It's on my musical bucket list. other than that, internationally, definitely one of the major hip hop acts of the time. So either, I mean, someone like say Sean Paul, possibly, yeah, Sean Paul, or like again maybe one of the more legendary figures, so maybe Snoop Dogg or someone like that. But yeah, there's a lot of very popular artists who have kind of risen to fame in recent times, but I just want to do something with somebody who's had a music career longer than a decade. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So you can really get the experience. If you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh man, that's another interview on its own. But yeah, I could. As a probably don't overthink. Number one, don't overthink. Don't overcommit. Slow down. Chase after one target at a time. And yeah, just calm down. Overall, in general, stop worrying.
Advice that can be given to anyone, actually. Very applicable.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson you learned working in the music industry in Sri Lanka?
The biggest lesson. There's a few lessons, but I can't say I've learned anything. I can't say like I can't say the music industry has ever been bad to me. So I've never learned any bitter lessons as such. But what I have learned is basically, just that you need to keep your finger on the pulse. As in you can't afford to blink. I mean, things change in the blink of an eye, right? 1 minute you're selling CDs, the next minute you're selling streams on Spotify. So things change and things evolve, and you need to sort of be quick to sort of jump on the next wave. And actually, like one of the tough lessons I learned was basically where in an age where the music industry is very cluttered, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of content. So you need to stand out of the clutter. You need to really be mindful of your brand and be mindful about how frequently you release content as well. It's not enough to just do one album a year and think, okay, my work here is done. So the whole business model and the whole operating model for music has changed a lot in the last 10 years. So it's brought with it a couple of lessons as well, but lessons well learned.
Yeah, definitely. Which of your songs do you love the most? Personal favorite.
I like Ojai. I like the remix I did to Sunil Pereira's Ojai, actually. Mr. Sunil Pereira was very kind enough to let me remix it. So I think that's actually, it's usually the song I close a show with. So that's by the time everyone's on their feet and they're like all, happy and dancing and so on. So that's a show closer. So I love that. Yeah.
Brilliant. What are your top 3 favorite TV shows of all time?
All time.
Yeah.
Do I just get 3? So, well, from what I've watched on Netflix, I mean, Narcos. Then there's so many. Honestly, there's so many. But of all time,
favorite.
Okay, well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I think Game of Thrones is number 1 on anyone's list. All right, somewhere on anyone's list. Game of Thrones for sure. Narcos definitely, and number 3. What else is there? Wow, I mean, I watched so much, but nothing comes to mind. I'm drawing a blank. Family Guy.
Oh wow, that's quite old though.
Oh no! It's still that in season number 18.
Definitely.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, people who watch it love it. Yeah. What's your favorite holiday destination and why?
In Sri Lanka, anywhere in the southern coast. So anywhere along the southern coast from say Unawatuna onwards all the way towards the east coast to Arugambe, I love. All right,
So you're a beach type of person.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So I love the coastal areas of Sri Lanka, hands down, which is why this recent marine disaster that we're facing is such a heartbreaking thing, because it's just destroyed one of the things I really love about the country. So it's been really heartbreaking to watch. Overseas, I love Europe. So like anywhere, say Italy, France, sort of those sort of very romantic cities like Rome and Paris and so on. Yeah, love those as well. Yeah. But if I just want to unwind and like kind of I mean, take away culture and all that fancy touristy stuff, Melbourne, Australia, and Los Angeles in California are the other sort of favorite destinations.
Wow, definitely. What's your most significant childhood memory? Something that defined you as a person.
Defined me as a person. Oh, yes. Wow. Wow. Okay.
We're getting deep with the questions.
Yeah, I'd say. Childhood memory, I guess, getting up on stage for the first time and performing. So it was a school talent show. I guess getting up and sort of like rapping to an audience of teachers and my school friends and so on. That was interesting.
What's your favorite musical?
Musical, as in Broadway musical?
Broadway musical.
So I like Jersey Boys. That's good. The Lion King, obviously. And number 3, wait. There was Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago is quite nice as well. And I've been meaning to also, well, when we're able to travel at some point, maybe somewhere overseas, go watch Hamilton.
Oh, wow. That's certainly on my bucket list as well.
Yeah. It's a hip hop musical, but set in the sort of George Washington era. I think, yes.
George,
I think that's
I think so too. Yeah. Best advice you've ever gotten?
Oof. I've gotten a lot of advice. I'd say the best advice, I'll put it to you like this. I mean, it's not really advice. It's just simple teachings. I mean, there are some very simple Buddhist teachings that I latched onto a couple of years ago. So I think the basic Buddhist principles, I think, went a long way in kind of shaping my view of things. So I would say that, just basic Buddhist principles.
Okay. What's the first musical instrument you ever owned?
A Roland XP60 synthesizer keyboard was the first musical instrument I owned. Yeah, that's what I learned to produce music on before computers were properly capable of doing sequencing and music production for you. You had to kind of do it manually digitally still, but you had to kind of manually program a keyboard and sort of do all your sequencing and stuff. So yeah, that was my humble start.
That's so sweet. Okay, next question is, what's your favorite musical instrument to play now?
I don't actually play an instrument, to be honest. But if you guys listen to Malmadhasa, I do that little mouth trumpet thing. So let's call that my instrument of choice. Yeah.
Who's your favorite music composer of all time?
Composer?
Yes.
All right. So when you use the word composer, are you referring to classical music, or are we talking more in the modern day?
Anything is fine, but I guess you can, if you want, you can pick.
if I had to pick, in terms of like say a music producer, there's a few.
Okay.
So, so, and let's put it in a modern, in the context of modern music, right? So, Timbaland, I think was fantastic. Did a lot for hip hop music. So did before he came along, Dr. Dre. If you were to get a little closer to the Indian subcontinent, A.R. Rahman, absolutely. And even say, if you were to talk about say film scores and things like that, Hans Zimmer, all right, has done some amazing work for Hollywood. So yeah, there you
go. Brilliant. What's the best concert you've ever been to?
Local, international?
Let's go with both. I mean,
yeah. Internationally, I watched a couple of hip hop concerts when I was in New Zealand, but sadly, I have not. Oh wait, I can answer that. Sri Lanka. One of the best concerts that I was at was when Shaggy performed live here.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
So I think that guy must have been close to 50 at that point in time, and man, he's got amazing crowd control. He's so talented. He's such a good entertainer. In terms of local artists, I watched ChoKoLAATe a while back when we could still do concerts. So yeah, so the composer behind ChoKoLAATe is a bit of a controversial figure, I know, but still fantastic. I mean, got to give respect where it's due. That was one pretty visually stunning concert with some really good songs. So yeah.
What's a movie that made you cry?
Nothing has ever made me cry.
You don't cry watching movies?
No.
Then what's your favorite movie genre?
Movie genre?
Yeah.
I like anything sort of historical, anything that's based on sort of crime, and anything sci-fi. Yeah.
Explains the Narcos and yeah.
Yeah.
Describe your life in 3 words.
At present, it's hectic, it's challenging, but then again, it's also fulfilling in certain ways.
Nice.
And yeah.
What's the strangest rumor you've ever heard about yourself?
That I was married to Ashanti Diallo.
Oh, wow. If you weren't a musician, who would you be?
Honestly, I'd probably work in film and television. I'd probably work as a producer, to be honest, So if you're watching a movie, I'd probably be one of the first names you saw in the credits. Yeah.
If you could change anything in the world, what would you change?
Wow. Well, I mean, just given the recent marine disaster that happened here, I would say we need to take the environment and sort of climate change a lot more seriously, to be honest. There's that, and probably encourage people to practice a little more tolerance and compassion, kind of that's probably it. It's climate change and just tolerance in general. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our 25 questions, Randhir. Thank you so much for joining us. And
no worries.
Yeah, we had so much fun getting to know you on a deep personal level, and I'm sure our readers and viewers will too. And thank you for joining us on the Poet.
No worries at all. Thank you. All the very best. And take care of yourself. Stay safe.